Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Just when you think high school bullies are a thing of the past, they somehow show up in your adult life. Engaged to your little sister, asking you to fund the wedding. Today in the rLounge, some scars don't fade. They just wait for the perfect moment to make a dramatic comeback. Entitled sister planned to marry my childhood bully despite knowing our history. I withdrew my financial support, and now the wedding's canceled. I never expected my own sister to betray me like this. The call from my mother caught me completely off guard. I was in the middle of cooking dinner when she dropped the bomb that my younger sister was engaged to the guy who made my teenage years a living hell. I asked who my sister was marrying. She said, "Dylan Thompson, you remember him, right? From your school days?" Fake name for obvious reasons. I nearly dropped my phone into the pasta sauce, shocked. Remember him? How can I forget the person who tormented me relentlessly for 6 years? The person who called me Piggy because I was chubby in middle school. The person who spread rumors that I stuffed my bra. The person who dumped a milkshake over my head at prom. I asked my mom if my sister told her that Dylan, her fiancé, had seriously bullied me in the past. She sighed, saying my sister mentioned we had issues back then, but insisted he'd changed. I doubted people like him change. They just hide it better. I called my sister right after, and she answered cheerfully, confirming her engagement to Dylan and acted excited. I told her, "Are you serious right now? You're marrying Dylan? The same Dylan who made my life miserable for years?" She scoffed, saying it was long ago when we were just kids, claiming he was different now. I asked if he ever apologized or acknowledged the pain he caused me. She accused me of making it about myself, saying it was her engagement in future, and that's why I just couldn't be happy for her. That's my sister in a nutshell. Everything has always been about her. I'm 5 years older, and from the moment she was born, I was expected to give in, to share, to sacrifice. And now she was asking me to forget years of torment for her happiness. We met a couple of days later because I wanted to understand how this happened. I asked my sister how long she'd been seeing Dylan. She said 8 months, admitting she didn't tell me because she knew I'd overreact, like she thought I was doing now. I reminded her that Dylan pushed me into a locker, leaving bruises for a week, spread lies about me sleeping with a teacher at 15, and made a website to mock me. She shrugged, saying people grow up and he has a great sense of humor now. I pointed out his humor was always the problem. She rolled her eyes, saying she didn't come for a lecture but to ask me to be her maid of honor. I nearly choked my coffee, asking if she was joking. She said I was her sister, so why would she joke? I told her she clearly didn't respect me if she was marrying someone who treated me like garbage. She leaned in, quietly saying she wasn't asking me to marry him, just to stand there and support her, asking if that was so hard. It was, but I didn't say it. Instead, I asked if Dylan even acknowledged what he did. She said he called it a silly teenage rivalry and harmless pranks. Harmless pranks, right. Like the time he told everyone I had lice and no one would sit near me for a month. Or when he stole my clothes during gym class and I had to wear lost and found items that reeked of mildew. Fast forward to a few days later, my sister called asking for money. Not a small amount either. She wanted me to contribute a significant portion to her wedding budget. She casually asked if I could cover half of the $40,000 wedding cost, like it was no big deal. I asked if she really expected me to give $20,000 to help her marry the guy who made my high school years awful. She told me not to be dramatic, saying mom and dad were helping too, but could only do so much, and I pointed out I was doing well and her only sister. It was true. I'd worked hard and saved while she jumped between part-time jobs and pricey hobbies. But her nerves shocked me. I said I'd think about it though. I had no plans to fund the mess. The next day, I got a text from someone I hadn't spoken to in years, a former classmate who still lived in our hometown. She'd heard about the engagement through the grapevine and wanted to warn me. "Your sister's fiancé was at the bar last weekend, bragging about how he's scored with your sister and making jokes about your family. Thought you should know." I asked for more details, and she sent screenshots from a group chat where he'd been messaging his buddies. The things he said about my sister were disgusting. The things he said about me were worse. He called me the fat sister and joked about how he was going to enjoy watching me waddle down the aisle at their wedding. I sent the screenshots to my sister immediately. Her response? "Those were obviously fake. You're just trying to ruin this for me because you're jealous." Jealous? Of her marrying my tormentor? Was she serious? Our parents hosted a dinner that weekend to celebrate the engagement. I went only because I wanted to see how he would act around the family. As expected, he was all charm with my parents, complimenting my mom's cooking and discussing sports with my dad. But when they weren't looking, he'd smirk at me or make little comments only I could hear. "Still holding grudges, huh? That's not very mature. Your sister is so much prettier than you were at her age. Don't worry, I'll take good care of your family when I'm part of it." After dinner, my mom pulled me aside. "See? He's a nice young man. Whatever happened between you two was a long time ago." I couldn't believe my own family couldn't see through his act, or maybe they just didn't want to. The final straw came a few days later. I got an alert from my credit card company about unusual charges. When I checked my account, I found thousands of dollars in deposits for wedding venues, caterers, and bridal boutiques. I called the card company immediately. The representative confirmed that the card had been used in person, not stolen online. That's when I remembered. I'd given my sister access to my card for emergencies when she was going through a rough patch last year. She had kept the information and was now using it without my permission. I canceled my credit card immediately and called my sister. I asked if she used it for wedding expenses. She admitted she used it for deposits, saying she was going to tell me, like that made it okay. I told her that it was theft, that she stole from me. She brushed it off, saying it wasn't stealing since we're family and I wasn't going to help pay anyway, claiming she just sped things up. I hung up and immediately froze all my accounts, changing passwords and removing her as an authorized user on anything she might have access to. Then I sent her a text. "You have 48 hours to pay back every cent you charge my credit card, or I'm reporting it as fraud." She showed up at my door the next day, her fiancé in tow. Both of them started shouting the moment I opened the door. "How dare you threaten me? You're just a jealous witch who can't stand to see your sister happy. If you report those charges, you'll never see either of us again." Dylan stepped closer, trying to intimidate me like he used to in school. "You always were pathetic. No wonder no one wanted to date you in high school." That's when I snapped. "Get off my property before I call the police, and take your thieving fiancé with you." They left, but not before my sister screamed that I was dead to her and would regret this. My phone blew up that evening with calls from my parents. They were upset that I was causing problems and living in the past. My mom said my sister was finally happy and asked why I couldn't support her. I explained that my sister stole thousands of dollars from me to marry a guy who bullied me nonstop and still says nasty things about me behind my back. She said, "I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. She probably thought you had given permission." I was stunned and asked my mom how my sister using my credit card without my permission could be a misunderstanding. My dad got on the phone and said they knew Dylan wasn't always nice to me in school, but people change. And since my sister loves him, that should be enough for me to at least be civil. Civil? I am being civil. I'm not pressing charges for credit card fraud, am I? I spent the next day crafting an email. I detailed every incident of bullying I could remember. The physical intimidation, the rumors, the public humiliation. I included the recent screenshots showing he hadn't changed at all. I explained how my sister had stolen from me and then brought him to my home to threaten me. I ended by stating clearly that I would not be contributing a single cent to their wedding, nor would I attend. I sent it to my entire family: parents, aunts, uncles, cousins. My sister herself posted a long, dramatic statement on social media about how I was no longer welcome at her wedding due to my jealousy and inability to let go of childish grudges. She painted herself as the victim, claiming I had always been resentful of her and was now trying to sabotage her happiness. She even suggested I might be in love with Dylan myself. Her wedding plans continued despite my refusal to contribute. She'd managed to convince our parents to increase their contribution, and Dylan's parents were apparently helping as well. She made sure I knew all of this, sending me photos of venues and dresses with captions like, "Look what you're missing out on," and "The wedding is going to be amazing even without your money." I didn't respond to any of it. I was waiting for the PI's report, which finally arrived 3 weeks after I paid him. And what he found was worse than I expected. Dylan had significant gambling debts, tens of thousands of dollars worth. He'd borrowed money from multiple people and hadn't paid it back. He'd been fired from his last 2 positions for inconsistencies in accounts he managed. And most tellingly, he'd dated and broken up with 3 women from wealthy families in the past 2 years. The pattern was clear. He dated women he thought had money or access to money, charmed their families, then extracted as much cash as possible before moving on. My sister, with her financially successful older sister and comfortable middle-class parents, was his next target. But that wasn't all. The PI also had uncovered evidence that Dylan was currently seeing at least 2 other women while engaged to my sister. There were photos of him entering hotels with these women, receipts for gifts he'd bought them, and screenshots of explicit messages exchanged. My sister had made it clear she didn't want to hear anything negative about her precious fiancé. She'd already accused me of fabricating evidence once. Would more evidence make any difference? I decided it had to. Whatever our differences, she was still my sister, and I couldn't let her marry someone who was so obviously using her without at least trying to show her the truth. I compiled the financial information first: the gambling debts, the pattern of dating wealthy women, the suspicious firings. I sent it to her anonymously through a temporary email address, hoping she might be more receptive as she didn't immediately know it came from me. Her response came 3 days later, after I'd revealed I was the sender. She called me obsessed and pathetic. She accused me of hiring someone to dig up dirt because I couldn't find any legitimate reasons to object to her marriage. She said Dylan had already explained everything. The gambling was a phase he went through years ago. The job changes were due to office politics. And the other women were jealous exes trying to ruin his reputation. It was clear she was going to believe whatever lies he fed her. But I still had my trump card, the cheating evidence. I hadn't included it in my first message because I wanted to see if the financial information alone would be enough to make her reconsider. It wasn't. So I sent her the photos, the messages, the hotel receipts, all dated within the last month, well after their engagement. I sent it all with a simple message: "He's cheating on you. I'm sorry." This time her response wasn't immediate. In fact, I didn't hear from her for 2 days. Then she showed up at my door. She said, "You're lying. You doctored those photos." I told her, "You know I didn't. I can show you the original files with timestamps. I can show you the PI's full report. Hell, I can give you the contact information for the other women if you want to speak to them yourself." She fell onto my couch, crying, asking why Dylan hurt her when he said he loved her. I said he was always selfish, manipulative, and cruel. She insisted they had a special connection, and he understood her. I told her they only wanted her family's money. She got mad, pointed at me, and said I was jealous because our parents loved her more. She was prettier and more fun. I laughed, asking if she thought I envied my jobless sister marrying a cheating gambler using her for money. She yelled that at least someone wanted to marry her. I said he didn't want her, just her money, and was cheating with other women. She stormed out, slamming the door. I figured she chose him over the truth and me, so I was done. But a week later, I got a call from my mother. The wedding was off. My sister had finally confronted Dylan with all the evidence, and he couldn't talk his way out of it. Apparently, the woman he was seeing had reached out to my sister directly and shared even more damning proof of their relationship. This, combined with the financial information I'd provided, had finally broken through my sister's denial. My mother was calling to tell me I had been right all along, though she said it grudgingly. She also mentioned that my sister was too upset to call me herself, but wanted to know that the wedding was canceled and she wouldn't need my financial contribution after all. The next day, I received a text from my sister. "You were right about him. I'm sorry." Edit. Holy crap, thanks for all the support, y'all. To clear things up, I didn't actually plan to press charges. Too much hassle. And I just wanted my money back. My parents only stepped in after they saw the proof of what a scumbag Dylan is. Also, no, I'm not in touch with my sister now. She's still acting like I'm the bad guy. Done with enabling her, though. Learned my lesson. Update 2. It's been almost 3 months since my last update, and I wanted to share how things have played out. The fallout from Dylan's exposure has been far more extensive than I initially expected, and the situation with my family has taken some unexpected turns. First, let me address what happened with Dylan after my public post. His life essentially imploded within weeks. The evidence I shared caught the attention of not just our social circle, but also his workplace and some of his creditors. He lost his position after his boss saw the recording where he bragged about scamming my family. Apparently, this raised red flags with his handling of company finances, which prompted an internal audit. They discovered he had been skimming small amounts from client accounts for months. Dylan's gambling debts also caught up with him. 3 different loan sharks showed up at his apartment demanding payment, and one of them apparently made threats serious enough that Dylan had fled town overnight. He abandoned his apartment, leaving behind most of his possessions. According to the PI, who I kept on retainer for a few more weeks just to monitor the situation, Dylan is now crashing on a cousin's couch in another state and working under the table at a car wash. Several women have filed police reports against him for fraud and theft. 2 of them had added him as an authorized user on their credit cards, just like my sister had, and he had maxed them out. Another had loaned him her car, which he sold without her permission. The authorities are building a case, and there's a good chance he'll face criminal charges. As satisfying as it is to see Dylan's facing consequences, the situation with my family has been more complicated. My sister remained at her parents' house for several weeks after the breakup, apparently too embarrassed to face anyone. She had to deal with returning gifts, explaining the cancellation to distant relatives who hadn't seen my post, and figured out how to rebuild her finances. Dylan had drained her savings and left her with significant credit card debt. The real shock came when I discovered that my parents had secretly loaned my sister a substantial amount of money for the wedding after I refused to contribute. They had taken out a second mortgage on their house, believing Dylan's promises that he would help pay them back after the wedding. Now they're stuck with additional monthly payments they can barely afford, and they partially blame me for not helping out when my sister first asked. I pointed out that if they had listened to me from the beginning, they wouldn't be in this financial mess. My mother admitted she had always given my sister preferential treatment because she thought my sister needed more support, while I was the strong one who could handle things. My father confessed he had dismissed my concern about Dylan because he thought I was just being overprotective and couldn't accept that my sister was getting married before me. After that conversation, I decided to take a step back from family interactions. I told my parents I needed space to process everything that had happened and that I would reach out when I was ready. They didn't take it well, accusing me of abandoning the family when they needed support. Dylan continues to face the consequences of his actions. According to my PI's final report before I ended his services, there are now multiple warrants out for Dylan's arrest in different states. It seems his scamming wasn't limited to our area, and his past is finally catching up with him. Dylan, please. That man's resume is literally bullying, gambling, cheating, fraud. The fact that your parents still called him a nice young man while he was siphoning money off your credit card is wild. Nice young men don't rack up loan shark visits. Your sister calling you jealous was such a low blow. Like, jealous of what exactly? The wildest part is that you weren't even trying to destroy her relationship. You were trying to save her from herself. You showed her proof, receipts, screenshots, and she still clung to the fantasy until reality smacked her in the face. At least now she's finally seen who Dylan really is, even if she's too embarrassed or prideful to fully admit how wrong she was. What would you do if your little sister decided to marry the person who made your teenage years a living nightmare and expected you to pay for it? Let us know in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next comments. See you soon. And please put your chair back where you found it.